What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys an extra special video. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can build a team around almost any Pokemon in singles battles for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I'm going to show you guys my complete method from scratch. Hopefully, you guys can adapt it in some of your own games. If you guys have any questions about this, please leave a comment below or check out the Discord. There's going to be a link to it in the description, and there's over 200 players in the Discord. We're all talking every single day, looking for battles. All of us are trying to grow as a community, as competitive players. So if you guys have any questions about the game, want to do some trades or get in some battles or just learn more about the game, feel free to hit the Discord. But back to the video now that the promotion's out of the way. Yeah, I'm going to be showing you guys how I like to build a team, and this is completely from scratch. Like I built this team. Like I built this team like 10 minutes ago, and I'm going to show you guys the strengths, the weaknesses of the team, and the reasons why we're using each Pokemon. I'm going to go pretty in depth about like natures, attacks, typing, and why each Pokemon works in each slot. So the first thing you want to do when building a team, if you have nothing to start off with, the first thing you should do is you should think of a Pokemon, and you're like, there's 150 something Pokemon in this game. How can I just think of one that I want to team build around? Well, if you want to make it really easy, the easiest way to build a team, especially for singles battles, is pick a Mega. There's like, I think 12 or 13 of them or something like that. There's not that many Mega Pokemon in this game. And if you build a team around a specific Mega evolution, it'll give you a great starting point, a great rock to build your team around. And, hopefully you can fill it with Pokemon that'll capitalize on its offenses and cover up for its weaknesses. So what we're actually doing is we're going to be building a team around, as I turn on my little game here, let's go into my bag. Go into my Pokemon box, and I kind of just built this team. I came up with the idea on the drive home, and I'm going to show you guys why it's so good. It's going to be so good. So we're actually going to be building a team around Mega Gyarados. So we're going to add Gyarados to our party. Goodbye, Caterpie. So you may be wondering, why Mega Gyarados? There's so many better Megas in this format. Well, think about what we're going to be playing. We're playing singles battles. We're playing on the Wi-Fi, ladder, battle spot, whatever you're going to call it. We're playing against random people. And we know that psychic types are super good. I know a lot of people are still using Mewtwo, and you may be thinking like, oh, that's a legendary. There's no way to beat it. Well, Mega Gyarados gets dark typing, so if anyone's trying to use Mewtwo, Alakazam, all those things, all those people are going to have an extremely hard time with Mega Gyarados because it is a water dark, and you can one-shot all of those psychic types with the Stab Crunch. We're going to get into more natures and attacks as I get down the road, but the reason why we're starting with Mega Gyarados versus any other, you may be thinking like, well, I could just go Beedrill, and Beedrill can take out Mega Mewtwo, just as well. It's faster and all those other things. Yeah. If you want to build a team around Beedrill, go for it. But today, we're building around Mega Gyarados because I want to talk about surrounding your team with Pokemon that really make a Pokemon like Mega Gyarados perform to its utmost potential. So, let's talk about regular Gyarados. It is a flying water type. It gets access to moves like Waterfall. It gets access to moves like Crunch, which is going to stab after Mega evolving and gaining Dark typing while you're losing your flying typing, which is going to be a really important thing that we talk about for the remainder of this video. So we got Waterfall, we got Crunch, it gets access to Thunder Wave. We're not going to be using Thunder Wave, but that's actually really cool. I love Thunder Wave Gyarados. A little bit off topic. So Waterfall, Crunch are going to be your main two offensive moves. I think it still gets access to like Earthquake and stuff. Notably, it loses Dragon Dance in this gen. It loses Dragon Dance. Dragon Dance isn't in the game. That'd be really cool if it got it, but unfortunately it doesn't. I'm actually going to bust out my strategy guide here. If you guys haven't seen one of these yet, this is actually really cool. I do not need the strategy guide to beat the game, but what it does have is it has the move decks, and it shows all the moves, everything that it learns. So what we're going to be doing, you guys can probably look this up on Cerebi. Maybe someone's going to leave a link to the move decks as well. But what we're going to do, if you're trying to build a team from scratch, you check up the move list. What can this thing learn? Let's look at Gyarados. Wow, I already said it's Waterfall and Crunch. That's on here. Let's look at other moves to surround the Gyarados with. I really think that Taunt would be pretty good. Setup mons are just so good, especially in this format. There's so many Toxic Stallers, there's so many Rest Stallers, there's so many Pokemon, you just taunt it. Like, there's Stealth Rock setters. One of the only ways to beat Stealth Rocks is to taunt it. So yeah, looks like Taunt's pretty good. And other than that, I'm looking at moves Gyarados gets. Maybe Substitute? Substitute's okay. Thunder Wave might actually just be a good option. I'm going to say Thunder Wave or Sub are good options for the last move. So yeah, Gyarados, pretty cool Pokemon. And you may be thinking again, like, why all this focus around Gyarados? Well, the reason why we're focusing so hard on Gyarados, and the reason we're using, obviously, I want to just disclaimer here. Waterfall, Crunch, those are physical attacks. If you guys saying, Gyarados gets Flamethrower, Gyarados gets Thunderbolt, those are special attacks. Gyarados does not have a high special attack as a physical attacker. One of the really important things about team building is knowing the strengths and weaknesses of each Pokemon, and one of Gyarados' biggest strengths is its speed and physical attack sets. So you want to surround it with physical moves. So, yeah, you know, why are we doing all this to make it, why are we doing all this investment in the Gyarados? There's so many better Megas. Like, why wouldn't you just use Mega Aerodactyl? I'm going to show you the next Pokemon on the team. It's going to be Aerodactyl. So we're going to add that to the party. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to switch this and make it look like Aerodactyl's our lead. And you're going to look at this team, right? You're going to be, if someone was looking at this team in the team preview, the first thing I think is like, okay, cool. Gyarados is a Pokemon that doesn't need Mega to succeed, but Mega Aerodactyl is one of the best Megas. It beats almost every single Legendary. Like, it beats all the birds, it can beat Mewtwo's, it can set rocks, it gets Taunt, it is so good. The competitive moveset for this thing is going to be, I would personally say it is Stealth Rock's Taunt. You want both of those. So you can taunt their Stealth Rocks user and then effectively set up your own Stealth Rocks and have just nothing for them to even do about it. You taunt their Stealth Rocks user, set up your Stealth Rocks. It's so safe. Stealth Rocks, remember, there's no Defog or Rapid Spin in this gen. So if you set up the rocks, they're there forever. Super important. So Stealth Rock's Taunt, and then you obviously don't have Rock Slide. It's your biggest stab move. There's no Stonage in this game. And then last but not least, you could have Crunch or Earthquake. Now, I personally think Earthquake is the better option because Earthquake can make it so you can one-shot Pokemon like Pikachu, and Pikachu actually can't one-shot Aerodactyl. You're faster than it is. If you go for a priority Zippy Zap, you're actually going to live it. So Aerodactyl, really good. I'd recommend the Earthquake because even if you went with Crunch, if you're not Mega, I think even if you were Mega, I don't think Crunch picks up KOs on all of the Psychic types. So I think you're better off with 100 base power Earthquake. But yeah, looking at the team preview, they're going to look at this and see, that's probably Mega Aerodactyl. Mega Aerodactyl is, regular Aerodactyl or whatever it is probably his lead. Let's look at what my weaknesses are. We have two big weaknesses to Electric, two big weaknesses to Rock, one weak to Water on the Aerodactyl, and, you know, it's looking at it, it looks like Pikachu would just roll through us, or an Electric type would roll through us. But remember, when Gyarados Mega Evolves, it loses its Flying typing, gains Dark, which means it can eat any Electric attack once. It is super bulky. Like, if your opponent is using Thunderbolt from a non-electric type, or even a regular electric type, like a Raichu Thunderbolt or a Jolteon Thunderbolt, you're actually just going to live it with Mega Gyarados because you're thick AF. So what we're doing with this play is we're luring our opponent into a false sense of security. Your opponents, when they're playing the game, what they're going to want to do is they're going to become extremely predictable when they think that they are outplaying you. When they think they're reading you, when they think they got a good read on what you're doing, that's when you have them right in the palm of your hand, and that's when you outplay them by this little misdirection, by having Aerodactyl first, Gyarados second, surrounding your team with other Pokemon that technically have better Megas than Gyarados. What you're effectively doing is giving your team a whole nother dimension of versatility that they have no idea about. They have nothing. So, looking at our team, you know, let's talk about what the original goal of the team was. The original goal of the team was to beat down those Psychic types and stuff like that. And another thing that this team also does is, since we have Gyarados, if they were to lead Aerodactyl, sure, they might be able to Rocks us, or they might go for a Rock Slide. If I lead Gyarados, you lead Aerodactyl, you might Rock Slide me because you want that super effective Rock Slide. But if I Mega Evolve and just Waterfall you, you're going to lose your Aerodactyl, and I'm going to be totally fine, because even if you did Rock Slide, I'm taking roughly 30% because I'm thick AF. And if you did Stealth Rocks, well, you traded your offensive lead, which is really good against the rest of the mons in our team, for just Rocks. It's not even worth it. Aerodactyl became a suicide lead. You're effectively up 6 versus 5. You have the advantage in that situation. So Gyarados is one of the best leads in the game, and we're going to show you, you know, what else to do to make it good. Another reason why Gyarados is really good against Psychic types is, you know, if, like, let's say they lead Mewtwo and you lead Gyarados, they're going to be caught in a situation where they're like, well, I can Thunderbolt to KO it, or I could Psychic and go for, like, just a really, really raw Psychic. It's a lot of good damage, and if he switches, it's really good damage on anything. And if you Mega Evolve, you gain Dark typing, which means you'd be immune to the Psychic. So what you're doing by having Gyarados, it forces them into Thunderbolting with the Mewtwo or whatever they have that they could possibly do. And like I said, you're already going to live that. So what you're doing is you're effectively putting them in a bad position right from the start of the game based off how many 50-50 mix-ups you can accomplish. Like, I know that I'm going incredibly in-depth about this, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment. But it is so important the amount of mind games you can play by having a Mega like Gyarados, whose other typing is completely different from its main typing. It's one of the few Megas that can actually pull that off. So we're going to look at the next Pokemon on their team. You know, we're pretty good in Psychic types. What we want to do is we want to bait our opponent to use those Psychic types. We want to draw them in, make them think, oh yeah, you know those Psychic types? You know that taunting lead Aerodactyl that's so good? You want to be able to use that against me. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to put a Venusaur into our team. So we're going to have Venusaur into our team. What this does to our team now is it says, oh, that Alakazam, that Mewtwo, that Fire type, that Flying type, all of those things are so good against Venusaur, and Venusaur is just bait. Venusaur is just bait. Also, another Pokemon that is potentially Mega to throw your opponent off the trail of you using Mega Gyarados. So what we're doing, again, we're baiting our opponent into a false insecurity. We're creating situations where they think they are outsmarting us, but in fact, we are outsmarting them. It's pretty simple. If they want to use a Fire type, they want to use a Psychic type, they want to use, you know, so many different types, Flying types, they are just SOL because we have Mega Gyarados, and Mega Gyarados covers for Venusaur very well. Another reason we're using Venusaur, let's talk about this. The things that Gyarados doesn't have a lot of help breaking through, like those water types, Venusaur is the other, you know, counter-offensive thing. Like Venusaur's grass attacks do really well against those water types that Gyarados has problems with. So Venusaur and Gyarados completely complement each other, both typings-wise, really, really solid stuff. Another thing Venusaur's really good at that I think most Pokemon aren't in this format is it's one of the few, like, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed users. It's not really a wall breaker, but their wall game has to be really, really good if they're going to break a Venusaur. Like, they can't really use a Chansey against a Venusaur. They can't really use a Snorlax against a Venusaur because they can't Toxic you because you are a Poison type. I prefer using Sleep Powders on my Venusaur over Toxics, but I usually go, like, Leech Seed, Sleep Powder, Mega Drain, and Sludge Bomb. But there's versatility there. You have options to use Toxic if you want. You have options to even use Protect if you want, or to use, let's see, Sludge Bomb is an option if I didn't mention that. There's so many other options. Substitute is an option. Venusaur can do so many things, but it's just a bulky Leech Seed Pokemon that is usually a free switch if you're minimizing damage. We're going to look at the rest of the team in just a minute. It is a free switch for, like, let's say one of your Pokemon's weak against attack. Like, let's say you got Gyarados or Aerodactyl, and they're going to use an electric attack. You can switch in your Venusaur. It's a grass type. You're going to eat that, roughly taking about 10 to 15%, and you're going to force them to switch out. Most of the time, in that situation, you go for a double switch, you go for a free Sleep Powder, and there's so many situations where you've completely stopped any aggression from your opponent just through the use of your typing alone. So Venusaur is pretty good in this situation. The next Pokemon we're going to be adding to the team, we have a pretty fast team so far. We have Aerodactyl, one of the fastest Pokemon in the format. Gyarados ain't no slouch. Venusaur is faster than most things, but we're going to want to really keep up the aggression. We're going to really keep up the aggression, and this is the part of the team building that really takes a turn in becoming something unique. You may be thinking, Aerodactyl, Gyarados, Venusaur, those are so standard. You got to come, like, why try something new, scrub? Like, I get it. I totally understand. You want to make a completely unique team, and this is where I'm going to show you a unique idea that you probably haven't seen so far. We're going to go with a Alolan Raichu. Holy moly. Look at this Alolan Raichu. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Alolan Raichu is the Alolan counterpart to regular Raichu. You can get this by trading any Raichu in at Saffron City. You know, you just trade them. You're going to probably have to trade a bunch of them before you get a good Nature and good Ivies, but that's what bottle caps are for. So what really sets Alolan Raichu apart from regular Raichu is the fact that you are Psychic typing. So you're going to stab Psychic attacks, you're going to get Psychic attacks, and you have the same base speed. I think you have very similar stats otherwise, but you're going to be able to stab your Psychic. So against a Pokemon like Venusaur, for example, we're just going to use it as an example, regular Raichu would have no way to fight a regular Venusaur, but Alolan Raichu has so many options because you can just Psychic that thing, and it's going to do so much damage. And so you may be thinking, like yeah, Alolan Raichu's good. Why are you using it over something like an Alakazam? And, well, we're going to talk about that in just a sec. We are actually going to use an Alakazam in this team, but I'm going to get to that in a sec, too. But yeah, why are you even using this Pokemon versus something like a Gengar? Why are you using this over something else? And the main reason, other than typing, because remember, we want to minimize the amount of damage these Psychic types can do to our team. Raichu's another Pokemon that can switch in on Psychic type attacks. It can switch in on a lot of other attacks that would be normally good against most of our Pokemon. It's also weak to ground attacks, and look, we have Gyarados and Aerodactyl, which can switch to cover Raichu's weaknesses. So far, we have, you know, 3 Pokemon that completely cover, we have 4 Pokemon who totally cover up for their weaknesses with each other. Great synergy in defensive typing, and we're going to talk about what Raichu can actually bring to the table. So, other than Thunderbolt and Psychic, what Raichu brings to the table is a couple very unique moves. Now, I think every single team should have at least 1 to 2 setup Pokemon. And what I mean by setup Pokemon is Pokemon that if you know your opponent's going to switch, or if you force them in a bad position, you can use a setup move like Shell Smash, like Agility, like Dragon Dance. I know a lot of those moves aren't in the game. Raichu, for example, gets Calm Mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get as many Calm Minds off as possible. And the best way to do that is actually through the use of Encore. So for those of you guys who don't know, Raichu can get Encore. It's a heart scale move. So once you get some heart scales, just go to the heart scale person. I think they're at the very end of the game in the Indigo Plateau, right before you fight the Pokemon League. Trade them a heart scale. Raichu can relearn Encore. So your moveset is going to be Encore, Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, and Psychic. So what you do is you wait for your opponent to finish off one of your Pokemon, or you know that they're going to use Psychic from like a Pokemon that might be a little bit slower than Raichu, or you know they're going to use a move that Raichu completely resists, maybe like a Thunderbolt from something like that. Switch in your Raichu, you can Encore them into that move, so they'll hit you with it again, does another 15-20%. You Calm Mind. They're going to use it again, does a lot less damage, Calm Mind again. Now you're in a situation when you're at +2, remember Calm Mind gives a special attack and a special D boost. So what you've done is by locking them into that weak move, or even a move that doesn't even do damage, you could be locking them into Rest, you could be locking them into Substitute, you could be locking them into so many setup moves that all the Pokemon in this format are just known for using. It's so good. Encore, for those who don't know, is one of the best moves in the game. I highly recommend you guys fiddling with it and trying to see what you can actually do. Like you might even be locking them into other setup moves. What if you have a faster base speed than them, you can lock them into Calm Minds or Bulk Ups or what have you. Any sort of move you can just lock them into. They're gonna have to use the same move for the next 3 or 4 turns. You're gonna be able to get 1, 2, maybe 3 Calm Minds off. And remember, if your Encore ever wears out, all you got to do is reapply the Encore. You have 5 PP, you can PP max it up to 8. And what you want to do is you want to get 2 or 3 Calm Minds, at least 2, I would say, if you have the option to, because that's going to give you one-shot potential with your stab moves against most Pokemon. And then you're just going to one-shot everything. And now Raichu isn't the fastest Pokemon, but I would say it's on the upper echelon of faster things. Now, things like, you know, Alakazam, Aerodactyl, Starmie, those are going to be faster Pokemon, and they actually don't really have that many good moves that can actually deal with the Raichu, but Raichu is in that second little under tier of what is actually really fast. So if you're using a timid Raichu, for example, you are the same speed as Gengar, which is another really common Pokemon, and you have a super effective move against him. He also has one against you, so you might have a little bit of speed ties, but you got to be strong in your conviction to get those one-shots. You got to be strong. Like, you got to be willing to risk the speed ties sometimes. But if you have a couple Calm Minds off, you actually just be able to eat the Shadow Ball. So let's say you set up on them on, get 2 or 3 Calm Minds off, they'll send their Gengar out. Even if you lose the speed tie and they Shadow Ball you, you'll be able to eat it because you're so special bulky on the special defensive side. So, you know, Gengar is pretty fast, but, you know, you're fast on things like Alolan Ninetales, Regular Ninetales, Charizard, Blastoise, all these other Pokemon that just have a little bit less than 110 base speed. So Raichu's actually really, really fast, and I highly recommend it. Being able to stab, like I said, both Psychic and Electric attacks are super, super valuable. So we're going to go on to the next Pokemon. It's very, very, very similar to Raichu. You know, you may be thinking, man, this Raichu's so good, I can't wait to use it. I want to use 2 Pokemon that are like that. And you know what? You can. Because you know what else gets Encore, Calm Mind, Psychic, and another move for coverage? Alakazam also gets Encore. And you may be thinking, like, this is overkill. I do not need this much. Well, you know, this is what makes a team special. This is what makes a team unique. Alakazam gets the same moves Raichu does, other than the Thunderbolt. You can use Shadow Ball. Let's look up our strategy guide, like I was just talking about. Have these stats on us. And I would recommend using a Timid Alakazam, but you could probably get away with Modest. The only reason I would recommend Timid is in case you're fighting other Alakazams. I'm going to recommend the use of Shadow Ball as your last move, but you can also use Substitute on that slot. You can go, you know, Encore, Sub, Calm Mind, Psychic. What if Psychic's your only move? But what if you get so many Calm Minds off, they can't even break your Sub? Do you know how ahead you're going to be? Because you're going to be fast and everything with Alakazam. Let's look at what this guy gets. Holy moly, this guy gets everything. He gets Recover too. Wow, you could use Recover. Calm Mind, Recover. Wow, that's so good. You can just get Encores up, get as many Calm Minds as you want, and just recover everything. Let's look at other moves he gets. He gets Dual Screens. He gets Thunder Wave. He gets Foul Play. That's really cool. Tri Attack is another really good one. Dazzling Gleam is pretty good, but I would still probably recommend the Shadow Ball, just because it makes it so you can fight other Alakazams relatively easily and other Psychic types really easily. It gives you pretty decent coverage if you have both Psychic and Shadow Ball for the Gen 1 format. So again, Alakazam, very similar to Raichu. It's going to be a little bit stronger. It's going to be a little bit faster. So it's almost like, you know, let's say one of these monsters is your secret weapon. It's almost like having your secret weapon twice. Let's say they accidentally get a crit on you or they win a speed tie. Well, you got a second secret weapon in the back. So far, we've made a pretty good team. We are super protected from Psychic Pokemon. Look at it. I mean, we have a Dark-type Mega Gyarados. We have a Psychic-type Raichu, a Psychic-type Alakazam that specializes in taking out other Psychic types. So we actually have been afforded the luxury through our team building for a Pokemon who's really weak to Psychic attacks. And going along the lines of having Pokemon that can set up to win, the last Pokemon we're going to be using in this team demonstration is going to be one of the best setup mons in the game. It's going to be Venomoth. So what is good about Venomoth? What does Venomoth get? Venomoth is a bug poison type, so has a ton of weaknesses. Holy moly. This thing is weak to almost everything, but if it's sent out in the correct situation, it will win you the game almost every single time. Venomoth gets Quiver Dance, and we were talking about how good Calm Mind is. Quiver Dance is a whole nother monster. Instead of just raising your special attack and special D, it's going to raise your special attack, special defense, and speed by 1 tiering. So with Venomoth, the moveset you're going to want to go is Quiver Dance, Sleep Powder. You can use Bug Buzz, which is a stabbed move, which makes it so you're super effective against Psychic. It's pretty good against almost everything. A lot of Pokemon are actually weak against Bug. But let's see what else Venomoth learns. I know what move I would use. I'd probably use Psychic as the last move, because it lets you fight fighting types. But I want to see, what else does Venomoth get that we're overlooking? Gotta find the Pokedex entry for Venomoth. What number are you? There we go. Alright, Venomoth. Let's see what else you get. Oh, we get Sludge Bomb. Stab, Sludge Bomb. You don't really need Sludge Bomb because you're using Bug Buzz, which would already make it so you could hit those grass types for super effective stab damage, but it's an option. It gets Roost. I didn't even know that. It gets Mega Drain, which might be a really good option. Help you restore some health after you get some Quiver Dances off. It gets U-Turn, which we're probably not going to be using. It gets Substitute, which is another really good option. And it also gets like Toxic and stuff like that. If you want to go for a Toxic route, remember, if you're using a Poison type, you actually can't miss Toxic. So that's really, really good to know. But I would just go with the Psychic again. You can't underrate the value of Psychic. And Pokemon that get Psychic are pretty good. So you may be wondering, why do I have so many setup mons? That is how this team wants to go. This is a hyper-aggressive team. And remember, we have all these setup mons. We have 3 setup mons in the back. But remember, this is a team based around Gyarados. The reason these Pokemon are able to set up to their heart's content is because Gyarados is the Pokemon that is taking out the Pokemon that are problems for this. Remember, Mewtwo's, Gengars, Mewtwo's, Gengars, Mews, Alakazams, Aerodactyls. If we take out those Pokemon with our Gyarados, all it takes is 1 turn. They're like, oh shoot, that's the Mega? Oh, I just lost this Pokemon for free. Well, that was your one way to KO these Pokemon that I have in the back. That was your one way to KO the Venomoth. Your one way to Earthquake the Raichu. Your one way to Rock Slide the Venomoth. Your one way to crunch the Alakazam with a potentially faster Pokemon. We also have 4 Pokemon that could potentially Mega Evolve. Mega Alakazam ain't no slouch. Mega Venusaur is no slouch. Aerodactyl ain't no slouch. I would actually argue that Gyarados is the worst Mega Pokemon out of the potential 4 in this team, and that is what makes it so good, because it is so unexpected that it's going to work almost every single time. So I just want to say, guys, I know this has been a really long video, but I've been getting a lot of questions about this in my Discord, and I just wanted to make a little discussion. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment, but you can also check out the Discord and post any comments, or just look for battles and, communicate with everyone on the Discord. So I just want to say thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.